The tradition never changes. At noon today, British Finance Minister Philip Hammond will step out of his official residence in central London waving a red box containing his country's new budget. Minutes thereafter, ordinary Britons will be informed how much tax they would be expected to pay next year, and what financial entitlements might be in the offing. Yet the substance and purpose of this year's budget are radically different. For this is the first budget in decades in which the plight of youth will attract most attention. Although Britain's population is growing, it is also growing older, so the young are by no means the most important population group. Those aged 25 or below account for only 29% of the population. And the youth enjoy good working opportunities. Unemployment has fallen to 4.3% of the labor force, the lowest in half a century. Still, Britain's youth are angry. The current generation is the first since the 1950s that is no longer able to look forward to a better life than its parents, largely because the real prices of education and housing have risen much faster than their earning opportunities. And Britain's young adults are becoming more vocal in expressing their displeasure. Less than 40% of those aged 18 to 25 regularly voted in general elections, the lowest level of participation among all age groups. But at last June's general election, 64% of youngsters cast their ballots. And while the opposition Labour Party always enjoyed its strongest support among the young, this has widened dramatically, with Labour scooping up more than 2/3 of all the young votes. That had profound impact on Britain's political landscape, and was a major, contributing factor in Prime Minister Theresa May's surprisingly poor electoral performance. Mr. Hammond is rumoured to consider unveiling today a number of major initiatives to attract young voters back to the ruling Conservatives' fold. The first is help with university education, which almost half of Britain's youth now attend. Tuition fees for most courses are now £9,000 a year, $16,150. Government subsidised loans are available, but they tend to saddle graduates with huge debts to repay precisely when they are expected to establish families and get on the property ladder. A typical graduate will leave university with whopping debts of £46,000, while young people from households in the lowest 40% of earners will graduate with debts of nearly £52,000, says Sir Peter Lample, who heads the Sutton Trust, a charity looking at social mobility. Mr. Hammond could consider abolishing tuition fees altogether. They were only introduced for British students in 1998. More likely, he will introduce progressive exemptions of tuition fees for people from poorer backgrounds. There is also growing pressure on him to reduce the current debt overhang on young adults. A variety of recent surveys indicate that over half of all these debts are still not settled years after they were contracted. But, as Mr. Hammond knows, that will mean little unless he tackles the equally big hurdles of jobs and housing. Britain's Chartered Institute for Personnel and Development estimates that, out of all those who graduated from universities in 2015, no less than 48% ended up Indiana jobs that did not require a university degree at all.